Hello, my people. Welcome back to our channel. Our business is to give hope. If this week all you did is hold yourself together, I'm proud of you. Karibuni sana. We continue with our part 2 with none other but our guest, our beautiful Carol, taking us through depression, trauma, and addiction. I hope last week you watched. Last week she talked about stress and so many other things. So please check on our channel, watch everything, follow us, because we rise by lifting each other. Welcome.
Hi guys, my name is Caroline Gachiku. I'm a psychologist and you are watching M-Sketch. Please subscribe to M-Sketch. To anxiety, depression, and trauma, they become serious candidates for addiction as compared to somebody hajapitia mambo kaa hiyo in life. So kupata mse amepitia vitu kama hizi na ana resist addiction, kweli ame overcome. Because what happens, people who are already feeling depressed, already nasikia life haiko, they are feeling numb. So they are wondering, I need something to make me feel alive again. So
Campaign ya changes. Badilisha ni mienendo. Changes. Campaign ya changes. Badilisha ni mienendo.
Depression is a very major mental health problem. Depression occurs when you have feelings of being very low, very sad, and numbness for prolonged periods of time. So all these things, si kitu unasikia 1 day, 3 days, ama 2 weeks. So watu wanapenda tu kusema, mimi nasikia niko depressed. No, many times what you mean is you're stressed.
Yeah.
So depression, unlike stress and anxiety, is different because depression occurs for long periods of time. And like I said, depression is not feelings of fear. It is feeling numb. It is feeling life haina meaning. It's that feeling, we also call it apathy. Unasikia tu uko. Una exist. Yeah, that's the best one. Of course, if you're, for the internationals, they may not understand. I think existing exists. But if you're Kenyan, you understand that lingo. So you're just there. You're not doing anything. So when you experience those feelings for long, you're feeling like you don't want to do anything. The things which used to give you joy, huzifeel tena. If you used to enjoy going out, you're not feeling that joy again. You used to enjoy dancing, you're not feeling it. If you're an instrumentalist, percussionist, if you used to play drums, it's doing nothing for you. Everything that was very core to you, that's when now we start terming it a depression. Imeanza kuaffect mpaka zile wasi wanasema guy na ulikuwa unapenda kupaint. Squeeze your paint, umekaa miezi 3 hujawahi paint. Na kitambo ulikuwa unasema nyiwa si hata siendi pahali nini. Nasikia tu your urge. Sija paint muda mrefu. If you're an artist. Or if you're, I don't know, in which other field, if you're into beauty and things like that, I haven't done this for long. So even if your friends take you out and they tell you, leo tunakupeleka tree, today we are going out shopping, then after that we're going clubbing, I don't know, whatever it is you could be doing. You do all that and you're still feeling flat. You're emotionless. Una reaction. Una watch comedy. Zile vitu zilikuwa zinakufanya ucheke, unashindwa sasa sawa nafanya. Unaangalia tu. Kwa ni Mr. Bean. Alikuwa anakuza. Na alikuwa anakucheke. Just the other day alikuwa anakuchekesha. So that's how you start knowing you're going through depression. And it has to be there for long periods of time. Other symptoms are like loss of appetite or too much appetite. Sleep is also a major one. If you find now you're starting to sleep 13 hours, unaanza kuwa kapaka 13 to 16 hours, it cuts zinalanga hizo masaa zote. Or you're sleeping very few hours, 2 to 3 hours, unasikia una insomnia, una usingizi. Uko tu macho, saa 9 tu uko macho. Na ukikaa macho, there's nothing you're doing. You can even sit in a dark room, unasikia tu uko happy. Yeah, there was someone I knew was going through depression and she would wake up every day at 3, switch off all the lights, even if she reaches home early, closes the curtains, anataka tu akae in darkness. Peke yake. Unajua ukiingia tu kwa room unastuka gay.
kuna mtu
umekaa tu kwa giza peke yako, ukiasha stima nasema acha kuwasha, nataka tu kukaa hivyo in darkness. Hivi ndio nasikia niko sawa. It's not something you're doing randomly at once. No. So that's when you start knowing this is depression. That feeling of numbness, that feeling of loneliness. So apart from depression, we also have the other one you had asked me about is trauma.
Yes.
So trauma is different from these ones, even though of course at some point.
Let me ask you, Carol, before we go to trauma. Mufilika depression unajua iko way too deep. Muuliza. Can we avoid depression? Let's say we feel it's like na get depression. Is there a way we can avoid it? How do you explain that? Ama ikikuja imekuja
Yes,
tu.
now that's where we come into seeking professional help. So maybe in Kenya people haven't been doing that much, but you've been seeing like in the West a lot of people have accepted this.
Yeah.
It's not abnormal to hear somebody say, I have a therapist from a very early age, from teenagehood to adulthood, even when they get married, unakuta anytime they're going through something small, they're like, ni sawa. To them, it's a worthy investment. It's like the way when you're feeling sick, mara mingi unasema, venye nasikia acha tu niende kwa daktari. Now, the same care you take care for your physical body is the same care people need to take for their mental health. But unajua cause ini kitu watu waone iko internal, you tend to treat it more likely to think, hiyo si kitu ninaona. So it becomes more insidious like that. Inakukula tu uko ndani. Because a physical problem, unaifeel, hiyo pain, unaweza guza, ouch, ukiniguza hapo nasikia uchu. But unaona now things like depression, huwezi guza. Iko wapi huku tu ndani kwa roho somewhere, whether you've gone through a breakup, you're going through grief. So like we are saying, there are some things that happen in life that are inevitable. You don't know what will happen or what somebody will go through.
True.
So the only thing you can do is if something like that happens that could bring depression, is you need to go to a therapist so that we manage that condition. You have to be willing to put in the work. Sometimes people imagine that things will just happen. Utaka tu hapo chini. Even when people go to therapists, wanapelekwa homework. Homework iko tu kwa shule. No. You'll be told, now go home. This and these are the exercises I want you to do. I want you to practice saying this to yourself. And by the time you come back next week, tell me what were your reactions when this and this happened. I want you to practice doing this with more people. I want you to force yourself to go out of the house, because most times when people are depressed, mtu anaweza kaa kwa kitanda 3 weeks, amefunga curtains, na hataki hataki kutoka, na hataki kukula, or they can even say, muniekee chakula tu hapo nje kwa mlango. Mweke tu na tray like the movies. Muniekee tu hapo nje kwa mlango. Mimi mtu asinisumbue, niko tu kundani and things like that. So it's about the coping mechanism. How are you going to cope with that situation now that it has come? Now that this event has happened in your life, now that this person has gone through this grief, has gone through this loss, has gone through, or somebody close to them has gone through this, something that is affecting them and affecting their emotions, because that's what therapy is all about. For psychology, we are dealing a lot with the emotions, but now because of depression, like I said, imeanza ku affect the brain. So when you go to the human brain, there are certain chemicals that are released in the brain. When the brain is functioning well and functioning normally, that trigger it so that it releases hormones which make you excited, which make you happy. So when you do something that is good, there's a hormone that is triggered that reminds you, we need to do that activity again. You see, ilikupe a bit of a high. So the way God created us is such that we have natural highs inside our system, for want of a better language. What people look for in drugs, that the body has its own chemicals which it releases in good enough amounts, significant amounts, that when you go out to your people in a party, you're having fun, and you're like, wow, that was a good day. And you didn't take any drugs, nothing external is creating. It's just naturally wired into your brain. So when you're depressed, those chemicals are not being released. That's what I was saying. Now that's where the psychiatrist comes in, because now the psychiatrist has to diagnose this and now has to write some medication. Of course, that is deep and complex, certain medications to balance those hormonal balances
Okay.
and those neurons, neurotransmitters, whatever is not being released, so that more of it can be activated so that you can start feeling like you're a little up. And if you're too hyper, like just to slow you and make you a bit calm.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, it's a learning process, people.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you want to touch on
A bit on trauma.
trauma, yes.
So that was depression. So I was coming to trauma. So trauma happens when an event happens in your life that affects your emotional response. Now, this event can happen either to you or somebody close to you, a loved one, or it can be something that you witness. But it is something of such major consequence that it will affect your mind, it will affect your sanity. For example, you witness somebody being shot. Everybody in life anajua kuwa si kitu mzuri. So hiyo ni kitu itakushock because conscious yako inakiki inasema guy, something has happened against the forces of nature, something that shouldn't have happened. An injustice has happened and I've witnessed it. Something happened, maybe cold-blooded murder. Or people, let's say like kids or a family that witnesses robbers coming into their house, or people who go through a rape. That is definitely, kuna categories, that is definitely a traumatic event. Now there are different kinds of trauma. Kuna ile tu inaitwa acute trauma. That's not to say it's small. Acute trauma just means it's a single incident that happened in your life or near you or to somebody close to you. Ni kitu tu moja. Maybe you witness a bank robbery, people being shot, na kutoka siku hiyo utakangi kutembea nje ya banks. So hapo ndio tunasemanga hiyo kitu ili ni traumatize. But like I said, layman, watu hutumia tu the word trauma kila saa. Unaenda tu unakaa pahali unasema unajua hiyo kitu ili ni traumatize and it's not really I mean,
I know.
It's not.
Let me ask you, like me, wacha nipeane na mimi. Sijui kama hiyo ni trauma ama hiyo ni me, you know, I don't swim. The reason why I don't, I lost a bro kwa river. Actually, tumetoka huko Nairobi, kwa holiday kitambo sana. Akaitwa na some other kids au ni wajuaji wa kuswim kwa river and all that. And that's how
and that was how many years ago?
It's so many years ago. I was a kid as well.
Sasa si unaona. Up to now it affects you.
So that is trauma.
Si unaona hata umejijibu. Si unaona sasa hiyo ni kategoria? Definitely hiyo ni kategoria trauma.
Trust you me. The same thing. Nilipatia I happened to talk to my son about that whole incident as we speak. My son as well. He can't swim.
He was
it's that.
You can also be traumatized listening to a story.
Yes.
So it's like the way we used to read horror books. Ama mtu anakusomea guy. Because your mind can imagine. You can play that image in your mind. You can picture it. So akipole sana, no, that's a traumatic event. But I believe you are able to get through it. Because certain people, what happens when they go through a traumatic event, it can lead them to depression, ashindwe function in life.
But I guess
but you see how it affected you now, that trauma. You can't go into you said a swimming pool or an ocean?
I can't swim at all.
Both of them, swimming pool or water in a sea. So now that's a traumatic, that was a life-changing event that affected your emotional response to that thing. So for some people, the trauma can be one single event. Like I said, you need to acute. It can be chronic. Chronic ni kusema, it is the same thing you've experienced or endured or gone through repeatedly. For example, watu wanakuanga in domestic abuse, domestic violence. Unaishi na mse anaku abuse every day. So somebody like that, hata siku ile atatoka, definitely they need to be treated for trauma because I may go through trauma every day unakana mtu. So somebody like that can't trust, and maybe they can't believe that men are good. They can't believe that men can be trusted. So you can find somebody like that finds it very hard. Maybe they'll only want to relate with women. They will not want maybe to hang around. Or people who've been raped, or either molested, either as a kid. So those ones, we call them childhood trauma events. Like what happened to you. It was a childhood traumatic event, and it affects you even to your childhood, because now you can't go to a swimming pool. Even when other people are swimming, you will still not want to go near there because it will trigger those memories.
Yeah.
So unaona hiyo ni trauma. And then the third category ni ile inaitwa complex trauma. Complex means umepitia a variety of vitu mingi zimehappen pamoja. You went through this event, a domestic violence. Siku ingine ukipitia kwa bank, tena Amaga alikuwa na shootout, watu wakatoroka. So unaona, so many things are happening to you, and the brain can't take, the brain is not wired to take so much pressure, so many things happening, inakuwa overwhelmed. So for some people, in very extreme cases, what happens, the mind can shut out and totally detach from the reality. So you find that that person, maybe with time, totally forgets that event. They've gone into amnesia. Yeah. So you need to dissociative amnesia. It's rare, but it can happen. So that person has no idea of that story, or if you ever talk about that story, they can't connect their feelings with their thoughts, with their understanding, with what is happening. Like people who are raped repeatedly, you can find maybe that person, when that event, that situation is going on. You've heard of cases we read in the papers. Somebody was being raped by their stepdad in the house.
Relatives actually.
So unakuta mtu kama huyo, when that event is happening, ana switch off. Maybe the brain's way of coping with it is anaanza kuimba baba black sheep kwa kichwa. So hako. So anasema this body, hiyo mwili sijui nini na happen kwa hiyo body, mimi si. So the brain inajiongelesha, inasema wewe ujue uko zako, mimi si. Are you getting? So that's very deep traumatic events. So there are people who go through that, or some people who go through serious car accident. Nasikia mtu amekataa kupanda, if it's public means hata ipanda matatu tena ama basi, anasema after what I went through, there's a lady I met like that. So even every time she's going to Shago, to up country, she has to call a relative, one of the relatives who has a car, akuje ambebe. So even if it has to take 1 year or more for her to go and see her parents, she will, because she will never take public means, because of that one incident, that horrific accident that she survived. So sometimes, of course, when people go to the psychiatrist or the psychologist, and they're taken through this, through different strategies that are employed, one of them sometimes is exposure. Sometimes somebody can be told that situation that you find traumatic, maybe it's a street you passed by and you were mugged, you will never walk by that street again. So you're really talked to and told you have to overcome this fear, and maybe by walking through that street, you've stepped on that fear and you've shown you can make it. So it's a very radical form of therapy. But imagine it's
not an easy one.
It's among many, maybe out of 8 or 10 forms of therapy. It's just among one of the ones that can be used. For some, that is not allowed exposure. Like, of course, if you are in a domestic violence situation, definitely that is not the therapy for that. So for you, you need to go through other forms of therapy, so that now your self-confidence is instilled, your self-esteem, uanze kujiheshimu, uamini you're worthy. And most importantly, to make sure that this trauma doesn't lead you into depression. So what people have to realize in life is, just because something happened to you, don't make a monument out of it. Don't let it shape your life to the point where you can't live your life. There are people who've gone through depression. There are people who've gone through very traumatic events and overcome them. Maybe those stories are not highlighted enough. And they go on to become very powerful people. They go on to become very inspiring people. So sometimes even us as laymen, even human beings, sometimes when you all react, guy, ulipitia yote na ukame.
You know.
So in short, what you're telling that person is, anyone who's gone through that, unatakiwa kuwa, umekufa hata umeisha. But that is a lie. There's a preacher who comes on TV, an American preacher. She's called Joyce Meyer. She was actually sexually abused by her father for many years. And look where she is now. She reached a point where she came out of it, dealt with it. It was very hard, cried for many years. And then she said, I forgive my father. And actually went back just before he died. And she told him, I've forgiven you for all that you did. And look where she is now. She's actually talking, she's counseling other people, strengthening other people. Yeah. So when you look at people like that, and many others that I'll not even mention, some who are celebs even in Kenya, some have given their stories of things they went through. And some of them, what makes it even harder is if the culprit or the person who perpetrated that action is near you. Yeah. Or is someone maybe you're still seeing. Sometimes it may need for you to move to another area if that is what will make it better, so that it doesn't keep triggering that memory.
Okay.
Sorry, subject nakwanga heavy sometimes, but
it's a deep one.
Yeah.
So wacha tu nikuambush na vitu zingine. I don't know kama kuna kitu unaweza mention on addiction.
Yeah, naweza mention
addiction because pia imekuwa too much. There was a day actually juzi tu tulikuwa tukijoke na addiction. If you people can remember, kuna siku juzi tumerealize we are all addicts to social media. Siku Zuckerberg
ile crash ilikuwa
amedecide kutuzimia our social media. So nikaanza kusema si wote ni addicts. But anyway, getting is now serious, the serious business.
Yeah.
Hebu tupatie nini kidogo ya addiction.
Sasa unaona wase wote tumemention hizo categories za watu wa anxiety, depression na trauma. They become serious candidates for addiction as compared to somebody hajapitia mambo kaa hiyo in life. So kupata mse amepitia vitu kama hizi na ana resist addiction, kweli ame overcome. Because what happens, people who are already feeling depressed, already nasikia life haiko, they are feeling numb. So they are wondering, I need something to make me feel alive again. So instantly they'll be like, let me go to what? Let me go to the bottle. Yes. Let me drink. Now when they start drinking, addiction becomes an addiction when that thing that you're doing or that substance that you're taking or that habit that you're engaging in is affecting you psychologically, mentally, or physically, is causing you even bodily harm, but you still don't care. Yeah. The drive to do it is greater than the harm it is causing you. That is when we say, huyo mtu amekuwa addicted. But kama huyo ni mtu, maybe they are drinking and all those things, and they are still able to go to work, we don't say that person is addicted. But ikifika mahali huyo mtu amefika point kama niyo job kae, leo nataka kunywa kutoka asubuhi mpaka jioni.
In short, your addiction ina control.
Hiyo addiction imeanza ku control. So what happens with addiction, like I said, our brain is very complex, more complex than a computer. Already watu wanakaa computer ni complex. So there are things in the brain called neurons. There are many of them. There are like billions of them. So those neurons, they are like nerve cells. They are programmed kama wire. A simple example, kama wires tu za tuseme kama za laptop kifungo huko venye unakutanga tu wire ma connections ama za electricity grid. So they send a message, one neuron to the other. So kuna hii laini connection inapitia hapa, kuna hii inapitia hapa, na kuna hii inachukuanga the right side. Just like when you call say electricity, when they come, they say ukiguza hii wire it affect hii circuit. Ukiguza hii it affect the second circuit. So that's what happens with the brain. So the way the brain is, there's a part of the brain called basal ganglia. So that part of the brain is where all the reward center is. It handles anything to do with something that brings you pleasure. So unakuta hiyo neuron, if you do that activity, maybe it was going out with family, with friends, whatever it is that triggers that for you. Hiyo neuron ina send message to another neuron through a gap called a synapse. Wako kwa gap inatuma, ina release some things called neurotransmitters. Now those neurotransmitters, there are many types. So depending, kama ni ya kuleta furaha, there's something called dopamine. Inakuwa released. Hey, ina send message, maze, you guys, something exciting is happening. We need hiki to do. So it sends a message to another part of the brain, inaitwa amygdala. Amygdala deals with emotions a lot.
Okay.
Amygdala ebu rekodi usend kwa emotional memory. Hii activity lazima turudi imetufurahisha.
Yeah.
Whether it was going out, whether it was dancing,
Yeah.
whatever it was. And then there's also another part of the brain inaitwa hippocampus where memories are stored long time. Hiyo inatuma message inasema hiyo ebu weka underline. Hiyo lazima, maybe it was eating a chocolate. Wow, I'm feeling happy. So unaona hizo circuits zina connect hivyo. So when you introduce addiction, what addiction does is, for example, if you're taking drugs, depending on the type of drugs, there are certain drugs, they are ziko na hii behavior inaitwa copycat behavior. They mimic tabia ya hiyo neurotransmitter. So it sends a message to the neuron, ina release a fake message, ina behave exactly like, let's say, your dopamine ile kufurahisha.
Yeah. Something is
So
coming.
ikirelease the other neuron ilikuwa receive your message inasema mimi nimesha receive package. Ime receive package ya nini? Ya hizi counterfeit, hizi copycat. Ime receive hizo drugs. So the real original, the one which is inside your brain, ile inatakiwa release dopamine, inasema stop producing dopamine. Kuna nini mingi sana ime release. So the brain is in shock. It's like, wow, wanyi wase mume release a lot of hizo neurons za kumake happy. Mume release overdose. So inaacha ku release the original, the one which you were created with dopamine. Ile fake inajaza system. So system iko huko inasema tumefurahi. Sasa with time what happens? Unaona brain inaenda release less and less of the original one. Yeah. So even if you try to do that thing which was making you happy, eating chocolate na ilikuwa inakufurahisha. Sasa haikufurahishi because sasa ile fake ilijaa kwa brain. And then this fake one, the problem ikijaa kwa brain, it also kills some of the original neurons. So unaona, you're getting fewer. So you're damaging your brain. Do you know how I say sometimes with time, after using too much alcohol, too much nini, unaanza kukaa ushikanishi. Kuna vitu umetumia drugs 5 years, 10 years. Unaanza kukaa
it's not easy to go back to yourself.
Yes, unaanza kuona
it takes time.
Mse ni kama kuna vitu ashikani. Sasa unaona kuna ni kama tu hivyo nimesema laptop hizo mawires, kuna ka circuit, I don't know those names, but kuna ka circuit kamechapa. Kingine tena kamecha. So hapa hii kienda inapiga short, inatafuta njia nyingine, nasema hapo kuna short, inatafuta tena njia nyingine. So hizi ndio zinaleta those feelings of depression. The person becomes more and more low. Anasema guy, I'm becoming more depressed. So lazima tena nikunywe even more drugs. Kama ni alcohol, I must take even more.
Yes.
Nifike ile
at least I feel like
so may affect sasa the brain. So when we come there, anybody dealing with substance abuse, definitely you must refer to a psychiatrist, because only a psychiatrist can be able to prescribe medicine. Huyu mtu atafika place, some of them depending on the drugs, anaanza kuona vitu, hallucinations, anaanza kuona watu hawako, they become hypervigilant. Mimi nasikia masauti, naambia masauti, hakuna mtu amekuongelesha. Haini wase amsikii.
Amsikia watu.
Amsikia watu wanaongea, mimi naona huko mala, amuoni, you know, things like that. And there are people who even commit suicide by mistake like that. People who are high on drugs. So many of these entertainers and famous artists we read about in the West. Unakuta mtu alijirusha from a tall building. Why? Because hizo vitu zilimwambia hapa chini hii ni swimming pool. Kufika chini si swimming pool, ni lami. But utaambia nani you're dead. By that time, address ilikwambia hiyo ni swimming pool. Ukaruka. In fact, there's a movie I watched like that. It was so funny. A comedy. 2 cops. Wakatoka wakasema, oh my god, twende tushike wale wawezi wako pale chi. And they had guns. They were like, hii nini si tunaweza. Na sasa hiyo wako like 7 floors up. Wakasema, hii distance ni kidogo. And both of them we had been shown before. They used to smoke and snort like cocaine and things like that. Kuruka chini, they died. So the other cops are investigating. They're like, why would they jump? What happened? We're not seeing evidence of mtu nyuma alikuwa na wakimbiza. So they're like, it doesn't make sense. They were the best cops. So anyway, I thought that was a funny look at it. But it's just to drive the point home, guys. Mkwe careful venye hizi vitu zinaweza ongelesha mtu. Hata brain uchapa huko juu. Unaambiwa hiyo ni swimming pool, kwa chini hakuna swimming pool. Utachapa ground. Yeah.
Well, hii topic ni a bit deep. Hey. Sasa si nimekuambush.
Sawa tu, hakuna shida.
Nataka kuambush mpaka si feel nikadi shamalizana na wewe. Actually, because I know I'll still have you next time maybe. Sahi nadhani naweza taka uongeleshe viewers wetu like especially hizi mambo zote za mental like how to take care ama just say something more like parting shot, encourage someone, wapatie hope and all that, because I believe actually the biggest part ya hii channel yetu ni giving people hope na uplifting people. So naweza taka useme jambo moja mbili at least to encourage them na tuoneshe kuna still hope. Hivyo tu umesema watu watoke kwako kakakuna ati uko depressed ati utakaa tu hapo, you need to move. Actually hata mimi nimefeel kama umeni challenge. Next nitajipata niko swimming, nitatry. Nitatoka kwa hiyo ni
yako
kwa kichwa
yako hiyo inaweza work. Hiyo nimeita over exposure. Mtu anakuwa exposed to that fear. So ase nataka tu kuongelesha na kuambia just like you've had all these things, mental health, it's not anybody's desire to go through that, but life happens. Life haiko perfect. Tuko 21st century, watu wako na ma issues too mob. Alafu it doesn't matter. Also kuna ma movies nyingi sana watu wana watch and people are watching very horrific things. So hizo vitu zina affect tu hata msee hata psychologically. Wase venye wanaongeleshana, wase venye wanatreatiana, as in just learn how to be kind with one another, even at work. Ukiona tu msee saa zingine hataki kukuongelesha, usianze tu brush off na kumwambia wewe kwani ni aje these days, you know, even for the bosses, the people who are senior. Like for me, one of the things I do with my students, Emma, let me tell you, I try as much as possible to understand them. So saa zingine siingiangi class na ile ati ukali, nani wewe mbona umekuja hapo uko late, ini saa ngapi unaingia class, unaona hiyo mlango nimefunga, ukiona nimefunga usiingie. No. Sometimes I just say I try as much as possible to give you the benefit of the doubt. Fadhali nikae mjinga, and sometimes it costs me because kuna wale watafikiri wewe ni fala nini. Unachanga tu tunaingia tu anytime nini. But I tell them najaribu kuwaelewa because already najua mnapitia a lot in life. Already some of you mnapitia a lot of pressure at home. Unashautiwa the whole day. Some of them are working part-time and schooling part-time, tuko evening classes. Unakuta already at work mtu anashautiwa. So if you're in a position, maybe you're an employer, also try to be careful how you talk to your employees. I would also suggest it is very important once in a while in any company, whether you're gonna 20 people, 40 people, 100 people, just to be organizing. Whether ni hizi vitu za team building, they really help. Do you know, even in the media industry, ukitaka watu kwa set, like in the film production, uko na set ya 100 people, you're shooting a big movie, ama ya 50 people, hata 30 people. Kabla hata mwanze kushoot, as one set I went on, I really liked it. The producer there alikuwa naelewa mentally watu lazima wakwe na hiyo frame of mind. Hujui wametoka wapi. Wapatie hiyo 2 days of team building. So umesikia say, like I was saying, if you're in that capacity, you're a manager somewhere, you are a boss somewhere, patia watu your chance. Hata once in a while, maybe once a month mnaweza organize. Mnaambia tu say today we have 2 hours before we start working. I'd request all of you to come to work at 7:30. Let's just get to sit around. No, unauliza tu, you know, it's usually done in a semicircular style so that people feel close, because easy desk si poa, like in a counseling session akukuangi na easy desk because they're already creating, inaeka wall, inaeka barrier. So wase tu wanakaa tu ina circle, kila mtu anasema how has my day been, what are you feeling. You know, 90% of counseling is listening, si kupeana advice. That's another myth I want to bust. Watu fikiri kazi ya psychologist kila sana kupea watu advice. Hivi ndio ilifanyika. Sasa acha nikushow. Hivi ndio unatakiwa ufanye. This is not a comedy show. Hivi ndio unatakiwa ufanye. Solutions are not muache kutaka hizo spaghetti solutions, microwave solutions. There are things in life like people who've gone through trauma. Sometimes mtu anataka tu ukae tu na yeye usikize. Things will just start working themselves out. So if you can allow an atmosphere like that, whether it's in the workplace. Another issue I've always had an issue with mashule. High schools and campuses. Why are we seeing all these burnings going on? Watu just so much pent up anger and emotions inside. Hawajui wata release aje. Allow people to be having school barazas. Allow the students wakwe wana meet, whether it's all 300 of them, mkae chini as the principal, the head teacher, and the teachers, a few teachers, mkae and allow them to rant and just tell you, atupendi that mnatupeanga only 30 minutes ya kula lunch, ama 45 minutes. Si tunataka 60. We don't like that kila saa huku tunapigango tukifanya hii. You know, if you don't allow people a chance to do that, so when people realize we cannot communicate, they resort to violent measures. Hiyo ni njia ya kusema mimi pale nimefika ni mwisho, since in this school siwezi ongea, or in this institution watu fanya tu venye watafanya. Especially there's a part I didn't mention earlier. When people are young, there's a very important part of the brain hapa mbele inaitwa prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal lobe. Part in a deal na creating somebody's personality, their character, thinking, planning, solving problems, and coming up with solutions. Now, this part of the brain, according to scientists, becomes fully formed when you're 25 years. So that's why teenagers work on a lot of issues, and they seem to make a lot of stupid decisions. Even for you, when you think most of the mistakes you made in life, ilikuwa tu ako ka age between 13 and 19. Because part ya unaona kuthink ya make decisions, bado ina grow. So bado ielewi. So especially when you're dealing with people in high school, I'll allow them, give them that chance to talk. They may say some things that may sound painful, may sound harsh, because when people are saying things in a group, wanaweza sema anything, or even allow them if they're not brave enough to talk. At the time we used to go around schools with some people in campus. Unallow watu wanaandika on a piece of paper anonymously what issues are affecting you, and put them all in a basket according to form 1, form 2, form 3, or form 1A, B, C, whatever system ninyi wenyewe ndio mtajiorganize. Na mzisome. You may not solve all of them, but at least you'll be halfway there, because sasa umejua kuna shida hapa. We need to look into this. So my advice for you is, and for anyone who has gone through any life-changing situation, depression fulani, trauma fulani, you can overcome this. Why people get depressed is because they feel so overwhelmed. They're like, hii kitu mimi siwezi pitia. I want to leave you with a Bible verse. There's a verse which says, no one is tempted beyond what they cannot handle. There is nothing that comes to you in life that is so big and so major that you cannot. There is always a way out. So there's a place, I won't lie, psychology ufika inagonga wall, because that's the part only now God can take over. Yeah? So that is why there are some counseling places in Andikanga. We do Christian counseling so that they're able to apply both. But even when you're a Christian counselor, you must appreciate the place of modern medicine, and you must work with the doctors. Usikambie mtu chukua hizo madawa usitupe, hiyo ni ujinga. No. Allow people to take their medication, whatever it is they've been written for, and then now you come in to offer the hope, the encouragement, the talk therapy, change somebody's mindset. Because that's a large part of cognitive therapy, working on your mind. Nini ilikufanya uanze kuthink hivi, uanze kuthink huwezi make it, uanze kuthink wewe ni useless, because ulikaa na mtu alikwambia wewe ni useless for 6 years, for 10 years. Sasa we need to erase that thinking. But I'm here to tell you, other people out there have made it, and you too can make it.
Wow. I have nothing to add. This show was your show.
Thank you so much, Emma, for having me.
Thanks a lot.
It was an honor. I'm ready to come any other time. Tutaangalia which other topic.
Have you more and more times. Thanks a lot, Carol. Hapo nadhani sasa tutafike hapo ili kwenye mwisho yetu leo. I don't want to add anything because sidhani sahi kuna anything else better naweza sema. Because hata mimi hapa nimekuwa nikila neza.
Tafakari hayo.
You know, as I always say, it's a learning process. And we need, at least, isn't it true? Not so many people are talking about. I don't know why people treat mental. There was a time when I was doing the introduction of the show and all that. Nikiuliza watu kuinje ukiwauliza like ukisikia about mental health, what is that? Ufikiria unapata kuna watu wanakujibu wazimu.
And that's a word we never use in psychology or psychiatry.
Definitely.
We don't use the word cheesy or mad.
Yes.
There's nobody who is mad. Everybody just has a pressure level. There's a level everybody reaches that the brain just can't take that. It's too much. So where since hujafika hiyo level, acha kuchekelea wengi.
But then it's painful, but now tumefika hapa. Sasa tunafaa tuitikie tushafika hii level ya we need to talk. As Carol told us, people need to listen to each other. And again, especially parents, tusikize tu watoto wetu. Hata tukisema ni stupidity, sijui mtoto anasema nini, just listen. Because I've picked watoto hawana hiyo chance. Wakiwa shule wanakuwa harassed na teachers, maybe teachers hawasikizi. Wakikuja home ni sisi hao watu wapati chance, sawa unajua nini. Like hata kama wajui kitu acha tu let them talk. Kuna kitu maybe wakitoa
kitu utapik.
Yes, hata kuna utapik kitu plus hiyo I always value mtu yeyote anakuja kwangu akitaka tu just vent tu. Me I just but then when I did Nani's charities story mtu watch episode 1 na 2 hata notice those are two different people.
See, me really noticed.
Yes,
I watched it. I was like, even
people.
Her face was bright in the part 2.
Part 1
she was very beautiful.
She was
kwanza ana vent.
Yes. Na sisi tukaona acha tumpatie shoulder. So ukiona mtu hata amekuja kuvisit home, at times we happen naona kuna kitu kana nisumbua but na knock kwa mtu. Nasema it might be my guy, we were sound silks. Na knock kwake but yeye ana feel.
Wacha nikwambie unajua ungekuwa maju ungekuwa rich sana. You know countries like Netherlands, Finland, Norway. Wameanza kitu inaitangwa rent a friend. It looks like a joke. Ati una rent mtu akae chini kwa bench akusikize. Because those societies are so busy. Hakuna mse yako na time na wewe.
Time yako.
People are not friendly. So watu tu wanasema guys, I just pay you money. Just listen to me. Imagine.
Lakini unajua hapo tumeanza kufika hapo. That's why tuko na so many people wako depressed. So watu mimi ni kuinsistia tu wache nisikiza mtu be your brother's keeper. Let us be our brother's keeper because nimekuwa serious. By the time we thought of coming up with this, trust you me, nimeona mambo mingi. I have friends wamekuwa wakishare. Watu hata hatujai meet, tunapata social media, someone is just looking for someone to talk to. Anasema niko na hii naona ukaona mtu amefika hapa na kuinbox na mchuani. That means sana mtu kwa familia anaweza toka. Na si ati ana family. But you know when we talk watu wanaenda kutujudge na utaki mtu atakujudge. You just want to vent somewhere una feel safe. So people, Carol, I can thank you. We can't thank you
so
enough. I can't thank you enough for stealing your time. But then imagine someone just coming to give us a talk.
It's my pleasure.
You know?
Nimeenjoy sana kwa hapa.
I can tell we are all happy. The entire team is happy. So thank you guys for especially kutufuata. It's not easy. As I said, tuna grow tu, hatuna haraka. All we want is to reach each and everyone. Now how do we reach you? Ni just when you subscribe. Imagine kazi yako tu ni kukaa chini you watch. Imagine unakaa tu chini una watch, unasikiza, unaleta watu wetu ya comfort kwa sitting room yako ama wherever you are, hata ukiwa kwa matatu ama wherever you are. Just continue subscribing. We need to grow. That one won't lie. Atufanyi each channel for the sake of it. We need to grow. Now to grow, that's how we'll be able to reach more and more people. Now, if you have a story you can share with us, not just, let me put it this way, not just mental health. We talked of wellness, at our wellness in general, whatever it is, just come to us, share with us. Tuko all the time to listen to you. So thank you team.